Hello everyone, hope you are in good health. Let me introduce myself. My name is Maria Grace Astana Niron. I will briefly explain literary appreciation, hope it useful. Literary appreciation that I will discuss is what is literary appreciation, element of literary appreciation, approaches to literary appreciation, stages of literary appreciation, and the less importance of literary appreciation. And the first, I want to explain what is literary appreciation. Literary appreciation is the ability to study, understand, and evaluate or make a critical judgment of literary works. And according to Donaldson and Nielsen, literary appreciation echo this sentiment and add that is the process by which one gauges one's interpretive response as a reader to literary work. Okay, and next elements of literary appreciation. There's a plot, theme, style, mood, diction, literary device. Plot, it is the storyline and must be detailed. And theme, in other words, it is the central issue raised in the work. Style, technically, a style use writing of writer. And mood, this is the feeling of atmosphere that the writer created for the reader through the description of the setting, what the characters say, and the use of language. Diction, this has to deal with the author's choice of words. And the last, literary device. The literary device used the work could also help the reader to fully understand the work despite the expression used. And next, approaches to literary appreciation. They are the context of the literary work, the structure of the work, the poetic device employed in the work, and the themes inherent in literary work. And the next slide, stages of literary appreciation. In Margaret early stages of growth in literary appreciation, these stages are considered as part of literary appreciation and determining the personal attitude, reading, and observing skill. And there, level 1, pleasure and profit. Level 2, decoding. Level 3, lose yourself. Level 4, find yourself. Level 5, venture beyond self. Level 6, variety in reading. Level 7, aesthetic purpose. And the last, material, importance of literary appreciation. Literary appreciation is alienable part of literature. In the same vein, it is important to the understanding of literature, its benefits, and the literary works can be overemphasized and assist it is proper evaluation, connection between the readers and writers. It gives us more value, information, and imagination. And a conclusion, literary appreciation focuses on the adequate grasp of the definition and application of traditional literary devices such as plot, character, metaphor, setting, and symbolism, which may be encountered within text. Literary appreciation, as stated earlier, is inseparable from literature as they work hand in hand for the better evaluation and understanding of literature. Through it, literature stands the chance to be more valued. Thank you, and hope it is useful for you.
Hello everyone, I'm Maula Rabito. Completing my final exam of literary appreciation, I would like to presentation about the material of literary appreciation. First, literature is writing that uses artistic expression and form and is considered to have merit or be important. Literature is a term used to describe written and sometimes spoken material. It means not only what is written, what is voiced, what is expressed, what is infant, in whatever form. Literary means concur with or connected with the writings to the appreciation of literature. Literary appreciation is the ability to study, understand, and evaluate or make a critical judgment of literary works. The writing style, themes, figurative and non-figurative use of language, literary device, and other elements that are visible in the literary work are considered and studied through the use of literary appreciation. Literary appreciation helps us to deduce the meaning behind this work as well as their importance, their imitation of life as literary work, the values, motivation, belief that are inherent in the works. There are 5 major of literary form. First, nonfiction. It is literature what is written in ordinary, metrical language and communicate facts or opinions about reality. And second, there is fiction. It is also written in ordinary non-metrical language, but it is the product of the writer's imagination such as novel, short story, and etc. For example, the famous novel is Harry Potter. It is a series fantasy novels written by British author J.K. Rowling. Novel chronicles the life of a young wizard, Harry Potter, and his friend Hermione Granger and Ron Weasley, all of whom are students at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. And the third, that is poetry. It is a part of literature that uses metrical language with lots of rhythm and rhyme to create word picture. Poetry employs all kinds of wordplay, figurative language, and imagery to send its image. The famous poetry is Carpe Diem by Shakespeare. It's revealing a true and sacred meaning of love. Love is the only thing that no one can buy with money. It requires a genuine heart to love. In this poetry, the writer is explaining his thought for sacred love. And the fourth, that is drama. Drama combines elements of prose and poetry. Like poetry, drama can feature hidden meaning and message that take some work to decipher and express by action on the stage. The famous drama is Romeo and Juliet. It is a tragedy play by Shakespeare. It tells about the young star-crossed lover and the conflict between the main character love, with its transformative powers, and the darkness, hatred, and selfishness represented by their families. The last one there is folktale, which is also referred to as mythology, tells story of originally oral literature and are meant to base on particular moral lesson. The one of most popular folktale in Indonesia is Malin Kundang, the folktale from Sumatra that tells a child who is disobedient to his mother and he is therefore cursed to become a stone. So guys, this is the famous of literary work. There is Harry Potter by J.K. Rowling. There is the Carpe Diem poetry by Shakespeare. And the last one, there is the Romeo and Juliet drama by Shakespeare. By learning literary appreciation, we can proper evaluation, connection between the readers and the writer. It is also give more intimation between the readers and the writer, like some sort of connection focused on the same literary pieces. it gives more value. Another important of literary appreciation is that through such a time of evaluation, literary work become more valuable. And the last, information and imagination. It helps us to have full grasp of the informative and imaginative aspect of literature. There are so many issues that we can find. There is feminism. Feminism is an feminist social movement and ideology that fight for the political, economic, and social rights for the woman. Interdisciplinary approach to issues of equality and equity based on gender, gender expression, gender identity, sex, and sexuality as understood through social theories and political activism. And the second issue, there is psychology. It is the scientific study of the mind and behavior. Psychologists are actively involved in studying and understanding mental process, brain function, and behavior. According to William James, defines psychology as the science of mental health, mental life, but is the phenomena of their condition. The famous expert of psychology in literature such as Sigmund Freud, who tells the psychoanalysis, and Jeffrey S. Nevitt, who tells about the psychoanalysis also. And the third issue there is racism. It is prejudice and discrimination based on race. Racism can also be said to describe a condition in society in which dominant racial group benefit from the oppression of others, whether that group wants such benefit or not. So by learning literary appreciation, we can also know the famous expert in literature issue, such as Sigmund Freud, Marianne, and Gordon Willard Allport. Marianne Helena is a political scientist, researcher, feminist, and scholar who is best known for her academic writing in topics relating for international relations, globalization, feminism, and immigration. And Gordon Willard is an American psychologist. Allport was one of the first psychologists to focus on the study of the personality, and is often referred to as one of the founding figures of personal psychology. So guys, we can conclude by learning literary appreciation. We can know about literature, we can know how to analyze literary work by the issue, know the expert and etc. We can understand it and making a critical judgment of theme, style, use of figurative and non-figurative language, as well as other elements of a literary work. I think enough for my presentation. I am Maula Rebito and thank you for your kind attention.
Hello everyone, my name is Maulana Ibrahim and I will explain about literary appreciation. Now, what is literature? Literature, a body of written works. The name has traditionally been applied to those imaginative work of poetry and prose distinguished by the intention of their authors and the perceived aesthetic excellence of their execution. Literature may be classified according to a variety of systems, include language, national origin, historical period, genre, and subject matter. What is prose? Prose is a style used that does not follow the structure of rhyming or meter. Rather, prose follows a grammatical structures using words to compose phrases that are arranged into sentences and paragraphs. Four types of prose: a non-fictional prose, fictional prose, prose poetry, and heroic prose. What about poetry? Poetry, literature that evokes a concentrated imaginative awareness of experience or a specific emotional response to the language chosen and arranged for its meaning, sound, and rhythm. There is a narrative, lyrical, and dramatic. Drama. Drama is a mode of fictional representation through dialogue and performance. It is one of the literary genres, which is an imitation of some action. Drama is also a type of play written for theater, television, radio, and film. Now let's talk about social issues. Overall, literature has proven to be one of the best ways to understand and combat the difficult social issues or problems that affect certain group of people in negative ways that shape our world. A few of the social issues that literature primarily wrestles with are age or aging, gender, ethnicity, and human rights. Racism. Racism is the process by which systems and policies, actions and attitudes create inequitable opportunities and outcomes for people based on race. An example of a literary work containing the issue of racism is the novel Ralph Ellison's Invisible Man, in the expression of identity for African American male. The novel, a man who he has faced extreme adversity and discrimination and questionable social movements in a wayward and ethereal mindset. Now let's talk about critical race theory. According to Kiara Bridges, author of the critical race theory, a primer, a traditional civil rights discourse maintained that racism would end when people stopped thinking about race. The dissenting scholars, she said, rejected that conclusion and believed race consciousness was necessary to overcoming racial stratification. Critical race theory emerged as an organized field in 1989 when academics gathered for the first workshop on critical race theory. I think that's all for now, and thank you.
Hello Miss, my name is Merdina Purnamasari. Now I will presentation about literature appreciation. And the first material is definition about literature appreciation. Literature appreciation, a common and easy one definition of literary appreciation comes from Will Martin. Literary appreciation is the ability to study, understand, and appreciate the famous or noteworthy literature works. Ogunwell, 2006, said that literary appreciation works toward an understanding of writing styles and the use of literary devices within writing, such as imagery and alliteration. And the next is genre of literature. First, fiction. One of the most popular genres of literature, fiction, feature imaginary characters and events. This genre is often broken up into 5 subgenres: fantasy, historical fiction, contemporary fiction, mystery, and science fiction. None tell us there are more than just 5 types of fiction, ranging from romance to graphic novels. In fantasy, the characters or settings could not exist in the world as we know it because they require a sort of magical element. And second, non-fiction. Unlike fiction, non-fiction tells the story of real people or events. Examples include biographies, autobiographies, or memoirs. And the third is drama, another popular category of literature known as drama or play. Is a story created specifically for a stage performance. And fourth is poetry. The fourth genre of literature is poetry. It is style of writing. Words are arranged in a metrical pattern and often, though not always, in rhyme verse. And the last is folktale. Another beloved genre of literature is folktale. Folktale, which is also referred to as mythology, tells story of originally oral literature and are meant to pass on particular moral lesson. These tales often have a timeless quality, dealing with common concerns that are relevant despite the time period. And the next is elements of literature. First, characters. These are the people we read about in a literary work. In a literary work, a writer describing action or idea must as well describe the characters affected by the actions or ideas. And second, setting. It is the place in which a character's story takes place. The people in literature, like the one who read about them, do not exist in speech. They act and react to one another. They also react to their word. Third, plot. Every literary work has element of plot. Plot tells what happened to the characters. It is the storyline of a literary work. A plot is created around a series of events that occur within a specific period of time. And the fourth theme is basic idea expressed by a literary work. It is a central idea or observation about life. It builds from the interplay of characters and plot. A theme might state that life is good or not good, or condemn crime or exonerate crimes. And fifth, point of view. The point of view is the relationship that exists between the author and the fictionist fiction, or author with the thoughts and feelings of the characters. And the next is issue in literature, such as gender inequality, gender equality, racism, gender trouble, sexual assault issue, LGBTQ, and cultural marginalization. And the theory of literature. First, feminism. Feminism is a theory of literature which was influenced by feminism movement. Feminism was born as a struggle for equality and liberation for women. It is a critique of patriarchy in a sense of oppression in a man-made world. Actually, since each people thought about what kind of creature a woman is. And for the example, novel by William Shakespeare, 12 Night, and issue found the ambiguity of identity, and the theory is feminism by Butler. And the next theory is psychoanalytic. Freud states that the assumption that there are unconscious mental processes, the recognition of the theory of resistance and repression. And as you can see, miss, this example for psychoanalytic is novel by Nicholas Sparks, A Walk to Remember. Issue found is psychoanalytical theory used psychoanalytic by Sigmund Freud. And the next is theory postcolonialism. Postcolonialism is an academic discipline featuring methods of intellectual discourse that analyze, explain, and respond to the cultural legacy of colonialism. For example, Gulliver's Travel by Jonathan Swift is novel issue found Understatement of Humanity. Theory Postcolonialism by Edward Said. And the next is postmodernism. Postmodernism is a term that describes the postmodernist movement in the art is set of culture tendencies of associated cultural movement. It is general the era that follow modernism. The example novel by Sekarayu Asmara titled Kembar Keempat, issue found Cultural Identity and Theory Postmodernism by Jean Franco Slater. And that's all presentation from me. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Meta. Right now, we will learn about literary appreciation. Here is my content. What is literary appreciation? Literary appreciation is reading, understanding, and making critical judgment of them, style, use figurative and non-figurative language, as well as other elements of literary works. The purpose of learn literary appreciations are enhance our knowledge of the world, give us self-orientation, develop critical thinking, appreciate our worldwide living structure, make us a good reader or writer, help us to explore psychology and change awareness of human history. So, what is literature and how many types there are? Literature may be defined as the study of imaginative works that relate certain aspects of human experience. The type of literature is poetry, prose, and drama. Poetry is genre of literature which expresses deep emotion, feelings, thought, experience, and ideas in verse form. It usually aesthetic. And then there is prose. Prose works already defined can be classified into fiction and non-fiction. Fiction is literature which deals with events that are imagined. It is narrative which tells us about imagined people in imagined situation. It's kind of fable and then myth. Non-fiction is factual writing about real people, events, ideas, and real-life situations. Non-fiction includes autobiography and biography. And last but not least, drama. Drama is defined as literary composition that tells a story in form of a dialogue and action. Sometimes it is also performed on stage before an audience. A drama is also called play. And for all literary works that I mentioned, there are many issues in that, such as gender issue, social issue, and psychological issue. And here is the literary works that I picked from movies that contained with issues. The first one is Enola Holmes. The character of Enola Holmes faced gender inequality issues. And then the second is Selma. It is historical drama film of black people in United States that contain racial issues. And then the last is Begin Again, movie that contain crisis identity of characters such as Greta and Dave. And that's enough for me, and thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Miss Antri Sukmadui from English Literature student of Pamulang University. I dedicate this video for the Literature Appreciation Semester Final Exam Requirements. I will discuss a little about Literature Appreciation. Literature Appreciation Ajinlu, 2006, posits that literary appreciation refers to the evaluation of works of imaginative literature as an intellectual or academic exercise. In this process, the reader interprets, evaluates or classifies a literary work with a view to determining the artistic merits or demerits of such a work. This means that the reader is able to gain pleasure and understanding for the literature, understand its value and importance and admire its complexity. Genre in literature. Genres of literature are important to learn about. The two main categories separating the different genres of literature are fiction and non-fiction. There are several genres of literature that fall under the non-fiction category. Non-fiction sits in direct opposition to fiction. Examples from both the fiction and non-fiction genres of literature are explained in detail below. This detailed genres of literature list is a great resource to share with any scholars. Types of non-fiction. 1. Narrative non-fiction is information based on fact that is presented in a format which tells a story. 2. Essays are a short literary composition that reflects the author's outlook or point. A short literary composition on a particular theme or subject, usually in prose and generally analytic, speculative, or interpretative. 3. A biography is a written account of another person's life. 4. An autobiography gives the history of a person's life, written or told by that person, often written in narrative form of their person's life. 5. Speech is the faculty or power of speaking, oral communication, ability to express one's thoughts and emotions by speech, sounds, and gesture, generally delivered in the form of an address or discourse. 6. Finally, there is the general genre of nonfiction. This is informational text dealing with an actual, real-life subject. This genre of literature offers opinions or conjectures on facts and reality. This includes biographies, history, essays, speech, and narrative nonfiction. Nonfiction opposes fiction and is distinguished from those fiction genres of literature like poetry and drama, which is the next section we will discuss. Genres of fiction. 1. Drama is the genre of literature that subject for compositions is dramatic art in the way it is represented. This genre is stories composed in verse or prose, usually for theatrical performance. where conflicts and emotion are expressed through dialogue and action. 2. Poetry is verse and rhythmic writing with imagery that evokes an emotional response from the reader. The art of poetry is rhythmical in composition, written or spoken. This genre of literature is for exciting pleasure by beautiful, imaginative, or elevated thoughts. 3. Fantasy is the forming of mental images with strange or otherworldly settings or characters. Fiction which invites suspension of reality. 4. Humor is the faculty of perceiving what is amusing or comical. Fiction full of fun, fancy, and excitement which meant to entertain. This genre of literature can actually be seen and contained within all genres. 5. A fable is a story about supernatural or extraordinary people, usually in the form of narration that demonstrates a useful truth. In fables, animals often speak as humans that are legendary and supernatural tales. 6. Fairy tales or wonder tales are a kind of folk tale or fable. Sometimes the stories are about fairies or other magical creatures, usually for children. 7. Science fiction is a story based on impact of potential science, either actual or imagined. Science fiction is one of the genres of literature that is set in the future or on other planets. 8. Short story is fiction of such briefness that is not able to support any subplots. 9. Realistic fiction is a story that can actually happen and is true to real life. 10. Folklore are songs, stories, myths, and proverbs of a person of folk that was handed down by word of mouth. Folklore is a genre of literature that is widely held, but false and based on unsubstantiated beliefs. 11. Historical fiction is a story with fictional characters and events in a historical setting. 12. Horror is an overwhelming and painful feeling caused by literature that is frightfully shocking, terrifying, or revolting. Fiction in which events evoke a feeling of dread in both the characters and the reader. 13. A tall tale is a humorous story with blatant exaggerations, swaggering heroes who do the impossible with an air of nonchalance. 14. Legend is a story that sometimes of a national or folk hero. Legend is based on fact but also includes imaginative material. 15. Mystery is a genre of fiction that deals with the solution of a crime or the unraveling of secrets. Anything that is kept secret or remains unexplained or unknown. 16. Mythology is a type of legend or traditional narrative. This is often based in part on historical events, that reveals human behavior and natural phenomena by its symbolism, often pertaining to the actions of the gods. A body of myths, as that of a particular people or that relating to a particular person. 17. Fiction in verse is full-length novels with plot, subplots, themes, with major and minor characters. Fiction of verse is one of the genres of literature in which the narrative is usually presented in blank verse form. Elements of each genre: the elements of fiction: plot, setting, character, conflict, symbol, and point of view are the main elements which fiction writers use to develop a story and its theme. The elements of nonfiction: the elements of nonfiction are point of view, character development, narrative and dramatization. Authors of nonfiction works often use the same basic elements as fiction authors to tell a compelling story. That's all from me this time. Thank you and see you soon.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello, I will explain what literary appreciation is. Literary work are creative writing that are valued for their aesthetic and intellectual content. There can include work of fiction, such as novel and story, as well non-fiction work, such as essay, poem, and play. Literary work often explore and express complex themes, idea, and emotion, and can be studied and analyzed for their literary merit and significance. There are issues that can arise in the study of literary work, such as question of interpretation, analysis, and evaluation. Literary critic and scholar may have different perspectives on the meaning and significance of a particular work, and may use different methods and approaches to analyze and interpret it. One approach to studying literary work is through the use literary theory, which refer to the framework and concepts that are used to analyze and interpret literature. Literary theory can include a wide range of the approaches such as culturalism, post-structuralism, feminism, Marxism, and psychoanalysis, that of which offer unique perspectives on how to analyze and understand literary work. In summary, literary work are creative writing that are valued for their aesthetic and intellectual content. There are many issues that can arise in the study of the literary work, and study theory provide from framework and concept to help analyze and interpret them. Example: literary work, novel Woman World by Aminder Dhaliwal. When a bird defect wipes out the planet and the population of man, woman would rise out of society as Dhaliwal eventually funny Instagram comic follow the rebuilding process, tracking a group of women who have rallied together under the flag of violence. Only grandma remember the distant past, a civilization of Segway, riding mall cops, blockbuster movie rental shop, and
That's what she said.
said jokes. For the most part, women word residents are confused or the trying struggle with anxiety, love, and anxiety, not to mention that whole survival of humanity things. Next social issue in related work, um, Woman World by Aminder Dhaliwal is a graphic novel that explores feminist themes and could be analyzed through the lens of feminist theory. Feminist theory is a broad term that refers to a range of ideas and approaches that seek to understand and challenge the system and structure that contribute to oppression of women. Thank you.
I'm just calling to say I
am so troubled by the soul of mine. I've said those words so many times. I need you in this life. I need you in this life.
Hello, my name is Michael Aaron Firmansyah Tarore, and in this occasion, I would like to present the short explanation about literary and the example of literary work, issue, and the theory used. Let's jump to the subject. First, the subject of our discussion is what is literature and why do we study literature. The next, the short explanation about poetry. The next, a short explanation about prose. Next, a short story and drama. And the last is literary work, issue, and the theory used. Move to the first. What is literature and why do we need to study literature? Literature is the total preserved writings belonging to a given language or people. And why do we need to study literature? Literature is to express oneself, to have access culture, to recognize human dreams and struggle, to develop mature and sensibility and comparison for the condition for all creation, to appreciate beauty, to shape one's own goals, values, clarify one's own identity, and to develop wider perspective of an event. First, poetry. Poetry is a rhythmic, imaginative language that expressing the invention, thought, imagination, taste, passion, and insight of the human soul. According to the William Wordsworth, it is the spontaneous overflow of power feelings, taking its origin from the emotion recollected in tranquility. For Edgar Allan Poe, poetry is the rhythmical creation of beauty. Prose. Prose is discourse which uses sentences, usually forming paragraphs, to express ideas, feelings, and action. In subject of matter, prose generally concentrates on the familiar and the ordinary. Prose is mainly concerned with the ordinary, but it may deal with subjects such as heroism, beauty, love, and the nobility of spirits, which usually find the most eloquent expression in poetry. Short story and drama. Short story, it is an artistic form of prose fiction which is centered on a single main incident and is intended to produce a single dominant impression. Economy, compression, and emphasis characterize the short story. Drama. Drama is the portrayal of fictional or non-fictional events in theater, film, radio, or televisions. Types of drama consist of tragedy, serious drama, tragicomedy, melodrama, and comedy. Next, the literary work. The literary work that I choose is Dangerous Minds by Llewellyn Johnson in 1992. This novel's Dangerous Minds explicit the theme of choice contributes to the myth of meritocracy, which assumes that every individual is given equal opportunities in society and it is up to them to work hard and achieve success essentially. Success based on an individual's merit, Johnson, as the writer of this novel, represents the social conditions of the USA in her surrounding relates to racism issues and informs the readers that racism is still going on in 20th century of the USA. However, Johnson, as a white writer, is still biased in writing the novel. The Critical Race Theory. The Critical Race Theory by Richard Delgado and Jan Stefancic, in their critical race theory, stated that race is the product of social thought and is not connected to biological reality, and refer from the novel Poverty, Class, Conflict, and Broken Home. In this novel are the representation of the social condition at that time. These social conditions have influenced racist activities run high in the novel. Well, that's all from me. Thank you and bye-bye.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nila Sapitri and today I'm going to explain about literary works, theory, issues, and give some example about it. So the first is literature. What is literature? The word literature means a body of written works. It can be classified according to a variety of systems, including language, national origin, historical period, genre, and subject matter. Literature may also refer to imaginative works of poetry and prose distinguished by the intention of the authors. In the landscape of literature, there are three major genres: prose, poetry, and drama. Prose. Prose is ordinary language that follows regular grammatical convention and does not contain a formal metrical structure. This definition of prose is an example of prose writing, as is most human conversation, textbooks, lectures, novel, short story, fairy tales, newspaper article, and essay. The second one is poetry. Poetry is a type of literature or artistic writing that attempts to stir a reader's imagination or emotion. There are three main kinds of poetry: narrative, dramatic, and lyrical. Drama. In literature, a drama is the portrayal of fictional or non-fictional events through the performance of written dialogue, either prose or poetry. Tragedy, comedy, tragic comedy, and melodrama are the four main types of drama. Drama is also used to denote a popular genre of storytelling in film and television. Social issue in literary works. Literature has proven to be one of the best ways to understand and address difficult social issues and problems that negatively impact certain group of people and shape our world. The social issues that we mainly deal with include gender, race, class prejudice, and human rights. Gender roles. Gender stereotypes are generalized views or prejudice about attribute, characteristic, or role that women and men should have possess, or perform. According to Anselmi and Lau, gender roles are socially and culturally defined perception and belief about the behavior and emotion of men and women. Mulan, a 1998 film, is one of the literary works that address the issue of gender roles. In this film, both men and women have no ability to determine their own lives. Women are expected to give birth to as many sons as possible, while men are expected to be ready to serve the king in war. Racism. According to Horton, racism has historically resulted in two related meanings. First, an inherited belief in racial differences that explain these differences in racial behavior, and second, segregation, discrimination, or racism is often accompanied by strong prejudice and intense hostility. An example of literary work containing the issue of racism is the novel Hidden Figure by Margaret Lee. The novel depicts how the women of Hidden Figure are subjected to racism and sexism at every turn. Prejudice. Prejudice is an assumption or an opinion about someone simply based on that person's memberships to a particular group. According to Abram and Houston and Abram and Christian, the premise of this review is that in general terms, prejudice needs to be viewed as a process within a set of relationship rather than a set of characteristics of particular people. Austen Pride and Prejudice is one of the literary works that addresses this issue. Pride and Prejudice is a realistic portrayal of English society characters. The central conflict lies in Elizabeth's misunderstanding of Darcy. A duel of pride and prejudice arises between two young people. Literature reflects both the good and bad value of society. The issue should be fixed and solved by reflecting bad value. As a, reflect, as a reflection of a good values in society, it makes us imitate. Therefore, literature can be an excellent learning resource for students. I think that's all for my presentation today. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Hello Miss Yunita, my name is Putri Anggraini and this is my presentation. First, what is literary appreciation? Literary appreciation is the ability to study, understand, and evaluate or make a critical judgment of literary works, the writing styles, the figurative and non-figurative use of language, literary device, and other elements that are visible in a literary work are considered and studied through the use of literary appreciation. According Ogunwell 2006 defines literary appreciations as the evaluation of works of imaginative literature and intellectual or academic exercise. Through this evaluation, the reader can properly and easily interpret the intent of the writers as well as the complexities and the advantages and disadvantages of the literary work. And next element of literary appreciation, there is 6 elements. First, plot, theme, style, mood, dictions, and literary devices. And next, approaches to literary appreciation. There are some of the approaches to literary appreciation that can be adopted in order to have a full grasp of what a particular literary work entails. They are first, the content of the literary work, and next, the structure of the work, the poetic devices employed in the work, and the last, the theme inherent in the literary work. Example, psychoanalysis by Sigmund Freud's theory in Jojo Rabbit movie. First, introduction. Jojo Rabbit is a comedy satire drama movie that written and directed by Taika Waititi that released on 2019. The movie was made based on book by Christine Leonins, Caging Skies on 2008. Taika David Waititi, or also known as Taika Cohen, was born and raised in the Panau, the East Coast region, Wellington, New Zealand on August 16, 1975. Taika is a performer, comedian, visual artist, director, and he also known as the director with works that contain elements of comedy and satire. He has famous comedy movies, which are Thor Ragnarok 2017 and Jojo Rabbit 2019. He has received Academy Awards for 2 nominations, and also he received Primetime Emmy Award in 2 nominations for his works, Boy 2010 and Hunt for the Wilder People 2016. He also received for the Best Adapted Screenplay in Oscar 2020 for Jojo Rabbit 2019. In Jojo Rabbit movie, Johannes or Jojo is a lonely boy because his mother busy and on working, and his father was a German soldier in World War II, and he has not back home in years. That situation makes Jojo feel lonely, and he created his imaginary friends, which is Adolf Hitler. He created Hitler because he so obsessed with Hitler and Nazi. Hitler is described as a figure who is anti-Semitic hostility towards the Jew, and has a nationalist spirit to the Nazis and Germany. This made influence in Jojo's tough to hate the Jews and want to become a member of the Nazis. Hitler's figure is an illustration of Jojo's. In the beginning of the movie, it saw the conversation between Jojo and Hitler. In the conversation beginning of the movie, it saw the conversation between Jojo and Hitler. In the conversation, Hitler said Jojo is the best boy and the most loyal little Nazi that he ever met. In my opinion, what Hitler said, it's actually represent what Jojo want. Jojo want to be close with real adult Hitler, and also he want to be the best and loyal Nazi for adult Hitler. This happened in Jojo's unconscious. To make his unconscious desires come true, he created his imaginary friend, which is Hitler, to represent all his desires and to found a pleasure for himself. In conclusion, Taika Waititi that released Jojo Rabbit in 2019. The movie was made based on book by Christine Launen's Caging Skies on 2008. Jojo Rabbit has taken a set in the mid-1940s century, in which is Fascism in rising. The storyline from this movie is about a 10-year-old boy named Johannes Betzler, or people call as Jojo, that He inculcated Nazi ideology and tried to join Deutsches Jungvolk in the Hitler Youth Club, and he also has imaginary friends named Hitler who encouraged and supported him at all. From that man, Jojo learned much about Jews, and it changed his perspective about Jewish people and his inculcate Nazi ideology. And this essay explained about Jojo psychoanalysis related with his imaginary friends, which is Hitler, and using approach of psychoanalysis by Sigmund Freud's theory. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello Miss Yunita, I'm Raga Dwi Prastio, and now I would like to present my PPT for final exam about literary appreciation, the literary word, issue, and theory. Literary appreciation. Eugen Liu 26 posits that literary appreciation refers to the evaluation of work of imaginative literature as an intellectual or academic exercise. The branches of literature. There are poetry, prose, and drama. Example of literary work. Green Book. Green Book is 2018 American biographical comedy drama movie. The movie is inspired by the true story of 1962 tour of the Deep South by African-American pianist Don Shirley, an Italian-American boxer and later actor Tony Lip, who served as Shirley's driver and bodyguard. The issue in this movie is racial discrimination. The racial discrimination is against African Americans. This film depicts social life in America during the reign of Jim Crow laws in 1962, where acts of racism against people of color in America at that time were very common. The theory for racial discrimination is postcolonialism. Postcolonialism often also involves the discussion of experiences such as slavery, migration, suppression and resistance, difference, race, and gender. The term is such much about conditions under imperialism and colonialism proper, as about conditions coming after the historical end of colonialism. The second example is the word that we knew. In Berlin in 1941, during humanities Doctors Hall, at the time when the world changed, Honeycomb knows she must send her 12-year-old daughter away to save her from the Nazi regime. The issue in this novel is power domination. In the word that we knew, 2019, master storyteller and lyric stylist Alice Hoffman explores the difficult history of Nazi Germany and the struggle of oppressed Jewish people for dignity in the face of the Holocaust's brutality and inhumanity. The theory for power domination is postmodernism. Postmodernism is a late 20th century movement characterized by broad skepticism, subjectivism, or relativism, a general suspicion of reason, and an acute sensitivity to the role of ideology in asserting and maintaining political and economic power. The next example is Fight Club. Fight Club is a 1996 novel by Chuck Palahniuk. It follows the experiences of an unnamed protagonist struggling with insomnia. inspired by his doctor's exaggerated remark that insomnia is not suffering. The protagonist finds relief by impersonating a seriously ill person in several support groups. The issue in this novel is defense mechanism. Fight Club novel tells about a man trapped in life as a white-collar worker. The main character is an unnamed man who becomes the narrator in the novel. He was a worker at a car company suffering from insomnia due to work pressure. The theory for defense mechanism is psychoanalysis. Psychoanalytic is a set of theories, therapeutic techniques related to the study of the unconscious mind and also its methods of treatment for mental disorder. These concepts are also widely used in the therapeutic areas, in areas such as psychoanalytic literary criticism, as well as in film, novel, and other literary works. This is the end of my presentation. Thanks for your attention, Miss.
Definition of feminism or feminist is a range of political movements, ideologies, and social movements that share a common goal, which is to define and advance political, economic, personal, and social rights for women. History of feminism. Clarisse Fourier, a utopian socialist and French philosopher, is credited with having coined the word feminism in 1837. Fourier believed that all important jobs should be open to women and the basis of skill and aptitude rather than close-some account of gender. He spoke of women as individuals, not as half the human couple. The word feminism and feminist first appeared in France and the Netherlands in 1872, Great Britain in 1819, and the United States in 1910. Feminist movement. First wave comprised women's suffrage movements of the 19th and early 20th centuries, promoting women's right to vote. Second wave was associated with the ideas and action of the women's liberation movement beginning in 1916, campaigning for legal and social equality for women. And third wave is a continuation of and a reaction to the perceived failures of second wave feminism beginning 1990s. Four basic principles. First is working to increase equality. Feminist hook links ideas to action, instinct. We should push for change toward gender equality and not just talk about it. Expanding human choice. Feminists believe that both women should have the freedom to develop their human interests and talents. Eliminating gender stratification. Feminists oppose laws and cultural norms that limit income, educational and job opportunities for women. And the last is ending sexual violence and promoting sexual freedom. Feminists feel that women should have control over their sexuality and reproduction.
Hello everyone, my name is Rosita. In this video I will discuss about literary appreciation. Literary appreciation. Ajinlu, 2006, posits that literary appreciation refers to the evaluation of works of imaginative literature as an intellectual or academic exercise. In this process the reader interprets, evaluates or classifies a literary work with a view to determining the artistic merits or demerits of such a work. Literary appreciation focuses on the adequate grasp of the definitions and applications of traditional literary devices such as plot, character, metaphor, setting and symbolism which may be encountered within texts. Different types of literature. Literature can be classified into different forms or types. Each form shares organizational characteristics and conventions. Several commonly recognized different types of literature are nonfiction prose, fiction prose, poetry, drama, folktale, novel, film. Literary theory is a school of thought or style of literary analysis that gives readers a means to critique the ideas and principles of literature. Another term for literary theory is hermeneutics, which applies to the interpretation of a piece of literature. 1. Deconstruction, a strategy of close reading that elicits the ways that key terms and concepts may be paradoxical or self-undermining, rendering their meaning undecidable. It was introduced by the philosopher, who defined it as a turn away from Platonism's ideas of true forms and essences which take precedence over appearances, instead considering the constantly changing complex function of language, making static and idealist ideas of it inadequate. 2. Feminist literary criticism has its origins in the intellectual and political feminist movement. It advocates a critique of male-dominated language and performs resistant readings of literary texts or histories. One of the founders of this kind of approach was Virginia Woolf, who showed in her 1929 essay A Room of One's Own. 3. In literary theory, a Marxist interpretation reads the text as an expression of contemporary class struggle. Literature is not simply a matter of personal expression or taste. It somehow relates to the social and political conditions of the time. 4. Postcolonialism is the critical academic study of the cultural, political and economic legacy of colonialism and imperialism, focusing on the impact of human control and exploitation of colonized people and their lands. More specifically, it is a critical theory analysis of the history, culture, literature, and discourse of, usually European, imperial power. 5. Psychoanalytic criticism, emerged in the 1960s, the most influential interpretative theory among the series of waves in the post-war period is based on the specific premises of the workings of the mind, the instincts and sexuality, developed by the 19th century intellect, Austrian Sigmund Freud. The issue in literary work 1. Racial discrimination. Racial discrimination refers to the character who face discrimination through mistreatment and violence that make a great impact in the future. For example, We Cast a Shadow by Maurice Carlos. The Help by Catherine Stockett. 2. Gender discrimination. Sex-based discrimination includes gender discrimination. The fundamental cause of gender discrimination against women is that patriarchal ideology shapes society's attitudes and behaviors. For example, novel Kim Ji-young, born 1982 by Seo Nam-ju. 3. Social class conflict. Class conflict, also referred to as class struggle and class warfare, is the political tension and economic antagonism that exists in society because of socio-economic competition among the social classes or between rich and poor. For example, Far from the Madding Crowd novel by Thomas Hardy. 4. Psychoanalysis is a way of examining the character's anxiety or desire influencing one's action and behavior. For example, psychological problems suffered by Anna and Sarah in Jodi Picoult's novel My Sister's Keeper. We're at the end of the material. Hope you can understand it. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Sandra Lorenza. So today we are going to discuss about literary appreciation. So let's get started. So first we are going to discuss about what is literary appreciation. Literary appreciation is the ability to study, understand, and evaluate or make critical judgment of literary works. The writing style, themes, figurative and non-figurative use of language, literary device, and other elements that are visible in literary work are considered study through use of literary appreciation. The next is literary works. Literary works, they are poetry, prose, novel, novella, graphic novel, non-fiction, and drama. Literary theory. Literary theory is the body of ideas and methods we use in the practical reading of literature. By literary theory, we refer not to the meaning of a work of literature, but to the theories that reveal what literature can mean. Literary theory. The first, Maxim and critical theory. Marxist literary theories tend to focus on the representation of class conflict as well as the reinforcement of class distinction through the medium of literature. Marxist theories use traditional techniques of literary analysis but subordinate aesthetic concerns to the final social and political meaning of literature. For example, class struggle and class difference issues represent through the major character Kevin's Kwan's Crazy Rich Asia. The second is psychoanalytic criticism. Using the Sigmund Freud principle of psychoanalysis, like dream interpretation, psychoanalytic criticism look at the nuances and the psychological states of characters in literature to interpret a text's meaning. Other notable psychoanalytic critics included Jacques Lacan and Julia Kristeva. For example, the psychological analysis of Jamie Sullivan's behavior in Nicholas Sparks' novel A Walk to Remember. The question is, what kind of psychological concepts are found in the main character's behavior? And the second, what is the most dominant psychoanalytic concept in Jamie Sullivan's behavior? Discourse action proposed by Jacques Derrida, discursionists pick apart a text, ideas, or arguments looking for contradiction that render any singular reading of a text impossible. Origin of discourse action can be found in Derrida's books, Writing and Difference, and of Grammatology, and the lecture titled Structure, Sign and Play in the Discourse of Human Sciences, which Derrida gave at Johns Hopkins University in a 1966 symposium. The next is literary theory of postcolonial theory. Postcolonial theory challenged the dominance of Western thought in literature, examining the impact of colonialism in critical theory. A subject postcolonial studies stand at the intersection of debate about race, colonialism, gender, politics, and language. For example, othering involves two concepts, the exotic other and the demonic other. Exotic other represent a fascination with the inherent dignity and the beauty of the primitive or undeveloped other, as delineated in its Byzantium poems, while the demonic other is represented as inferior, negative, savage, and evil is described in novels like The Heart of Darkness and A Passage to India. Even feminists, as the feminist movement gained steam in the mid-20th century, literary critics began looking to gender studies for new modes of literary criticism. One of the earliest proponents of feminist criticism was Virginia Woolf in her seminal essay, A Room of One's Own. Other notable feminine critics include Anne Showalter and Helen Sixos. For example, Woman at Point Zero by Nawal El-Saadawi is a novel that describes how hard the condition of a woman named Firdaus who wanted to struggle her right, but not only as woman but also as a human. Social issues in literary work, they are racism, poverty, bullying, gender discrimination, class prejudice, and the last, abuse of power. Conclusion: literary appreciation, as stated earlier, is inseparable from literature as they work hand in hand for better evaluation and understanding of literature. Through it, literature stands the chance to be more valued. I think that's all that I want to present to you. Thank you for listening.
Everyone, my name is Sri Yunardi Dadi. Now I want to presentation about what is literary appreciation. Literary appreciation is one of the most powerful things to consider when the term literature comes up for deliberation. This is inseparable from the unique nature of literature itself. Literary appreciation is also the ability to examine, understand, and evaluate or make critical judgments about literary works, writing styles, themes, use of figurative and non-figurative language, literary devices, and other elements that appear in a literary work, and consider and study through the use of literary appreciation. Ogenwell defines literary appreciation as the evaluation of imaginative literary works as an intellectual or academic exercise. Through this evaluation, readers can properly and easily interpret the author's intent as well as the complexity and advantages and disadvantages of literary works. Similarly to Donaldson and Nielsen, literary appreciation echoes this sentiment and adds that it is the process by which one measures one's interpretative response as a reader to a work of literature. In literary appreciation, there are three literary genres. Number one, poetry. Poetry is a person's literary work in conveying message through diction and written patterns. Prose is a literary work in the form of a story that is conveyed using narration. Prose writing combines monologue and dialogue forms. The storyteller puts his thoughts into the character's mind. Conveying ideas is done well while the characters are having a dialogue. Number 3, drama. Drama is a genre or type of literary work that describes human life with motion. Drama describes the reality of life, character, and human behavior through the rules and dialogue that are staged. Stories and stories in drama contain conflicts and emotions that are specifically intended for theatrical performance. Elements of literary appreciation. There are several elements that are indispensably in literary appreciation. Number 1, plot. A sequential arrangement of events in a literary work. This is a storyline and must be detailed. Number 2, theme. Theme is a central idea that is inferred from the reading and interpretation of plot, imagery, and symbolism in a literary work. In other words, it is a central issue raised in the work. Number 3, style. It is the way language is structured or the way or manner in which a work is written. Technically, every writer has their own writing style. Number 4, mood. This is the feeling of atmosphere that the writer creates for the reader through the depiction of the setting, what the characters are saying, and the use of language. This element of literary appreciation is important for appreciating literary works as a whole by having a classic picture of the intent, mood, or emotion of the author. Number 5, diction. It has to deal with the author's choice of words. Finally, literary devices. The literary devices used in the work can also help the reader to fully understand the work regardless of the expression used. Conclusion. Literary appreciation, as I have explained, cannot be separated from literary works because they work hand in hand for assessment, a better understanding of literature. Through it, literature has the opportunity to be more appreciated. Okay everyone, thank you for your attention and thank you for watching.
Analysis of Physical Discrimination Experience by Langston Hughes as reflected in his poem I to Merry-Go-Round and Ku Klux. The aim of his study is to reveal radical demonstration of experience by Langston Hughes, which reflections in his poem I to Merry-Go-Round and Ku Klux. There are two research questions to answer. First, how to use poem I to Merry-Go-Round and Ku Klux. Describe radical demonstration. Second, how to use poem and I to Merry-Go-Round and Ku Klux reflects Langston Hughes' experience of radical demonstration. The reader used to source in this study the primary source of the poem itself, entitled I to Merry-Go-Round and Ku Klux, written by Langston Hughes. The secondary source from a collection forms his story and literary theories and internet sources all that help the writer. Issue. There are so many people who live in America with different kinds of origin, not only white people who come from Europe, but also other countries as American Africa, from Asia or Africa. African American come to America because of slavery. They live on Lange's farm on small plantation and not allowed to learn. They were from learning to read and write. The slaves worked mainly to build the economic foundation of the nation. African Americans often get import treatment from other people, especially white Americans. They were treated differently because of the color their skin. They have dark skin, which people white things as ugly or dirty. Those action occurs because there are slaves. The portrait of discrimination can also be seen in literary work which have themes about discrimination against African Americans. One of the literary work which have discrimination of themes of the poems created by Langston Hughes. He is an African American and he likes to write poem contains the discrimination themes that African America experience. This phenomena attracts the research to observe about racial demonstration experienced by the poet using his poems. Theory. According to Acru and Turner, in general, discrimination is the act of denying an individual group of subordination, individuals by another individual, group, or sublesion access to failure rescue. Agree and Turner also state that in relation to ethnic discrimination, discrimination is the process by which the member of more powerful and dominant ethnic subpopulation deny the member from less powerful and inferior ethnic subpopulation from access to society value. Thank you, Miss.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Vika Maulani. Today I would like to do a presentation about literary appreciation. Literary appreciation is one of the most pleasant things to consider when the term literature comes up for deliberation. It's inseparable from the characteristic of nature of literature itself. This is evident in the three genres of literature: poetry, prose, and drama. Literary appreciation of literature and its literary works is an attempt to make literary works more valuable. Literary appreciation helps to deduce the meaning behind this work as well as their importance, the limitation of life as literary works, the values, motivations, beliefs that are inherent in the works. It is also allows the reader to have a better grasp of the writer's psychological emotions or attitude towards his or her works. Elements of literary appreciation. There are some indispensable elements of literary appreciation that are provided below. Plot. This is the sequential arrangement of events in a literary book. It is the storyline and must be detailed. Theme. This is the central idea that is inferred from reading and interpretation 9 of the plot. Imagery and symbolism in a literary work. In other words, it is the central issue raised in the work. Style. This is the way the language is structured or the ways or manner in which work is written. Technically, every writer has his or her own style of writing. Mood. This is the feeling of atmosphere that the writer created for the reader through the description of setting, what the characters say, and the use of language. This element of literary appreciation is important in order to fully understand the literary work by having a classical overview of the writer's intent, mood, or emotions. Diction. This has to do with the author's choice of words. Literary device. The literary device used in the work could also help the reader to fully understand the work despite the expression used. Approach to the literary appreciation. These are some of the approaches to literary appreciation that can be adopted in order to have a full grasp of what a particular literary work entails. They are the context of the literary work, the structure of the work, the poetic devices employed in the work, the themes inherent in the literary work. The stages of literary appreciation are Level 1, Pleasure and Profit. Level 2, Decoding. Level 3, Lose Yourself. Level 4, Find Yourself. Level 5, Venture Beyond Self. Level 6, Variety in Reading. Level 7, Aesthetic Purposes. Importance of literary appreciation. Literary appreciation is an inalienable part of literature. In the same vein, it is important to understand of literature, its benefits, and the literary works can be overemphasized as it is. Proper evaluation, hence, one of the most important of literature is that it allows proper evaluation of literary works, connection between the readers and writers. It also gives more information between the readers and the writers, like some sort of connection focused on the same literary pieces, and it gives more value. Another importance of literary appreciation is that through such a time of evaluation, literary works become more valuable information and imagination. It helps us to have full grasp of the informative and imaginative aspect of literature. Conclusion. Literary appreciation, as stated earlier, is inseparable from literature as they work hand for the better evaluation, understanding of literature. Through it, literature stands the chance to be more valued. Thank you for the attention. Have you had a good day?
Hello everyone, my name is Win Kurniasi. Now I'm about to present to you all about literary appreciation as my final exam. First of all, the topic that I'm about to explain is about literary appreciation itself, regarding the types of literary works and also some issues and theory in each example. No need to take long, let's get started. So, literary appreciation, according to Ogunwell in 2006, is the evaluation of works of imaginative literature as an intellectual or academic exercise. Through this evaluation, the reader can properly and easily interpret an intent of the writers, as well as the complexities and the advantage and disadvantage of the literary work. Next is types of literary works. There are several types of literary works such as fiction, non-fiction, drama, poetry, and folktale. In fiction, there consists of fiction, for example, Dan Brown, it's a novel book. And also contemporary fiction, mystery fiction such as Sherlock Holmes novel, and science fiction such as Star Wars is the famous one. Non-fiction such as biographies, autobiographies, and memoirs. Next, drama. Drama consists of a classic, modern, and most renowned author of drama is William Shakespeare. The poetry that have several types such as haiku, free verse, sonnet, ballad, epic, and etc. And most poet in poetry is Maya Angelou. Next is folktale. Folktale consists of mythology. Next, there are several issues in literary work as follows: discrimination, mental issues, and also oppression. Discrimination consists of social class, racism, prejudice, gender stereotype, and slavery. Mental issues consist of traumatic, loneliness, isolation, and depression. Oppression such as gender inequality, beauty myth, and etc. Next is the theories of literary work. I have several theories and the example. First is about racism. According to Vidal in 1996, state that racism is a form of violence toward another race as an act of domination involving specific behavior or action. In racism, one group of race looks down to another group of race, which reveals superior and inferior feelings. And here I have a sample. It's about a poetry entitled Dream Song by T.M. Bejas. So the poet implies a deep meaning about how this history should not be forgotten, from the slavery's journey to survive to get his freedom until he finally decided to go out and tell the world about him so that everyone around the world know and can remember the slave who exists. Next, I have example about psychoanalysis. This is so I talk is about loneliness, proof by Jerry telling Peter how his life is so lonely. He even doesn't have friend or family at the moment, and also the unfriendly and the individualistic neighbors who lives around him. So, based on Sigmund Freud theory of isolation, a psychoanalytic theory that discusses different mechanism concept that distinguish between several things that are characterized by gaps in mental process related to unpleasant or threatening cognition or thinking. As a defense against harmful thought, isolation prevents the self from allowing this cognition to repeat by itself and possibly undermining the self-concept. Next is still about psychoanalysis, but I took issues about traumatic. According to Freud, so that all historical symptoms were caused by childhood sexual abuse or molestation, which left unconscious memories, and later during adolescence when exposed to situations that reminds the original trauma, those memories were activated. So I took novel it entitled At the Bright Place by Jennifer Niven, tells about a loss in mental health condition experienced by a teenage character, and it depicts the theory of two teenagers who feel down and lost. Theodore Finn's character is always obsessed with death, and Violet Marquis' character who is always sad or after the death of her brother. Next, it's about feminism. I took issue about oppression. So feminism is an effort made to seek recognition that there is an imbalance of right between women and men, whether in the political, economic, or social spheres, where women do not have full right as men and do in every aspect. In other words, it is an oppression and inequality gender. So this novel entitled Girl, Woman, Other by Bernardine Evaristo is all about every character is a descendant of black immigrants who come to the United Kingdom a long time ago, and the author tells the story of how the immigrants managed to survive in an environment where women and people of color are being oppressed. So according to Young in 1990, in page 42 until 43, oppression refers to structural phenomena that immobilize or diminish a group. And that's all the material that I've given, and the conclusion about the material is literary appreciation is one of the most important things to consider when the term literature comes up from deliberation. It is inseparable from the characteristic nature of literature itself. This is evident in the three genres of literature, such as poetry, prose, and drama. And literary appreciation helps to deduce the meaning behind this work, as well as their importance, their limitation of life as literary works, the values, motivation, beliefs that are inherent in works. It also allows the reader to have a better grasp of the writer's psychological emotion or attitude toward his or her works. And that's all from me. Thank you so much for watching and listening. My material will be beneficial for all of us. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello Miss Yunita, my name is Yehaini. Now I will present our topic about literary appreciation. Literary appreciation is an attempt to make literary work more valuable. Literary appreciation helps to deduce the meaning behind the word, as well as its meaning, the imitation of the life in literature, and the value, motivation, and belief attached that the word. It also allows the reader to have a sense of the meaning behind this work as well as their meaning. It also allows the reader to have a better understanding of the author emotion or author psychological attitude toward the work. There are kinds of literary work. First is poetry, prose, and drama. Poetry is the all literary work written, expressed in rhyme and phrase and rhythms. Prose is the form of the written language, the same as poetry, but written in sentence and paragraph. Next is drama. Drama is a show that is performed directly to entertain the audience. Prose, like a fiction and non-fiction. Fiction such as the short story and the novel. Issues and literary works such as discrimination and mental issues. Discrimination such as social class, racism, prejudice, and gender. And the mental issue like a traumatic and disorder. First theory in literary work. First is psychoanalytic. Psychoanalytic theory was first popularized by the famous psychologist Sigmund Freud. Psychoanalysis is a view that all humans have a deep state, unconscious beliefs, thoughts, memory, and desires. They arise from a previous experience or hidden conflict, and the thought process that belief from a sense of self. This one example, a novel about a traumatic. Between Sky and Water is a novel by Susan Abu Hawa. This novel tells about the mental experience by a Palestinian woman who tried to save her sister from Israel soldiers who invade her village. Her name is Najmie, who experienced rape and mental violence because at the same time she was raped, she also witnessed her sister being killed in front of her. The next theory is theory gender or feminism. Mary Wollstonecraft, in her book The Right of Woman in 1972, defines feminism as a movement from the emancipation of women and rejecting difference in social status between man and woman. This one example about feminism in poetry, Maya Angelou. Changbird was published in Maya Angelou in 1983. One bird can live in nature as she wishes, while the other changbird suffer in captivity. The poem extends metaphor can be seen as depicting the experience of inequality between man and woman. And the next theory is Marxism theory. According to Kristeva in 2012 in page 68, the theory of Marxism was initiated by the Karl Marx with the aim of criticizing the exploitative action of the bourgeois class against the proletariat class in capitalism. Marx argued that material fulfillment is the most fundamental basis of the entire structure of capitalism. In relation to literature, this theory emphasizes the relationship between social economy, historical, and cultural. This one example in drama with the title The Zoo Story by Edward Albee. Themes of a play are social class, alienation, and isolation. The Zoo Story as an absurdist drama. In this play, Peter and Jerry represent the middle and lower social. Post-colonialism theory. Post-colonials is a study that examines various aspects related to colonialism or imperialism. According to Edward Said in his book Orientalism, post-colonialization and Western worldview that hegemony of the power over the Eastern world. In example, in novel The Susan Abu Hawa, The Morning in Jenin. Morning in Jenin is a novel that's one of the history of terrorism. Look back at the one of the conflict of discrimination against humanity in her novel Morning in Jenin by Susan Abu Hawa described the history of Palestine. The last is postmodernism. The earliest person to coin the term postmodernism was Jean-Francois Lyotard. Quoting Ali Mascom's explanation, in Introduction to Philosophy from Classical Time to Postmodernism, the term appears in Lyotard's book entitled The Postmodernism Condition. A report on knowledge, Lyotard in the book that appears in the 1979 defined postmodernism as a critique of universal knowledge, metaphysical traditional, fundamentalist, and modernism. In examples, and film Village of the Watermills. It's a film that tells the story of a village that has postmodernism, which is characterized by back to the nature or back to the traditional.
Hello, my name is Yuznia. To complete the final exam, this time I will talk about literary appreciation. Literary appreciation is a manifestation of human feelings towards a work of art and refers to the ability to examine, understand, and evaluate or make a critical assessment of literary works. Writing styles, themes, use of figurative and non-figurative language, literary devices, and other elements that appear in a literary work are considered and studied through the use of literary appreciation and evaluation of literary works as academic works and intellectual training. It is the process by which the recipient of a literary work gains an understanding of its theme and subject matter and gains insight into the ways in which the formal structure helps to make this happen. Other terms used as substitutes for literary appreciation include literary criticism, literary interpretation, and textual analysis. Literary appreciation focuses on an adequate understanding of the definitions and applications of traditional literary devices such as plots, characters, metaphors, settings, and symbolism that may be found in texts. According to Donaldson and Nilsson, 2009, literary appreciation occurs in 7 stages. There are level 1 is pleasure and profit, literary appreciation is a social experience, level 2 is decoding, literacy is developed, level 3 is lose yourself, reading becomes a means of escaping, level 4 find yourself, discovering identity, level 5 is venture beyond self, level 6 is variety in reading, level 7 is aesthetic purposes, avid reader, appreciates the artistic value of reading. Types of literary works. Fiction. Fiction is narrative writing that originates from the author's imagination. It is designed to entertain, but it can also inspire, inform, or persuade. 1. Novel. A novel is a type of fiction that tells a long, complex story. Nick Stone's Dear Martin is the novel I utilize. This novel has an issue about racism theory by Joe R. Fegan. Racism is the belief that groups of humans possess different behavioral traits corresponding to inherited attributes and can be divided based on the superiority of one race over another. It may also mean prejudice, discrimination, or antagonism directed against other people because they are of a different race or ethnicity. Modern variants of racism are often based on social perceptions of biological differences between peoples. These views can take the form of social actions, practices or beliefs, or political systems in which different races are ranked as inherently superior or inferior to each other, based on presumed shared inheritable traits, abilities, or qualities. 2. Novella. A novella is a type of fiction that tells a shorter, simpler story than a novel. I utilize the novella Seize the Day by Saul Bellow. This novella has an issue about psychoanalysis theory by Sigmund Freud. Psychoanalysis is the main form of flow in psychology and has a personality theory, which we can also call the psychoanalytic theory of personality. Psychoanalysis is a branch of science developed by Sigmund Freud and his followers as a study of human psychological functions and behavior. Personality, according to Freud, is a type of system composed of 3 elements: the ego, the id, and the superego. Each of these elements has its own origin, aspect, function, principle of operation, and equipment. 3. A short story is a type of fiction that tells a brief, self-contained story. I utilize the short story An Hour by Kate Chopin issue about feminism theory by Simone de Beauvoir. According to Simone Beauvoir,
feminism has already been tainted to an extent that there seems no hope of talking about the subject. Though a lot has been said about feminism, little improvement has been seen in women and they are still subject to man. Woman no longer exists as a fellow man but lives in the shadow of a man. Though a woman is just a fellow human being like a man, society has made her less significant such that there are no definite characteristics relating to a woman as it is for a man. Simone, 1949. The author wondered whether women still existed, if they are supposed to exist, and if they existed, what place would the society place them? 4. Myths and legends. A myth is a type of story that explains the origins of a culture or natural phenomenon. A legend is a type of story that tells the story of a heroic figure. I utilize the film Poseidon, Percy Jackson issue about cultural identity theory by Myron Lustig. Myron Lustig notes that cultural identities are central to a person's sense of self. That is because cultural identities are central, dynamic, and multifaceted components of one's self-concept. Lustig also points out that cultural identities are dynamic, and they exist within a changing social context. As a result, a person's identity changes as do one's ongoing experiences in life. Nonfiction is writing that is based on true events, people, places, and facts. Subgenres of nonfiction. 1. An autobiography. 2. A biography. 3. An essay. 4. Diaries and journals. 5. Narrative. Drama is a mode of fictional representation through dialogue and performance. It is one of the kinds of literature which includes epic poetry, lyric poetry, and novel. Melodrama is a type of drama that features exaggerated emotions and characters. I utilize the film The Pursuit of Happiness issue about stereotype theory by Scott B. Vickers. Issues of identity and authenticity present perennial challenges to both Native Americans and critics of their art. Vickers examines the long history of dehumanizing depictions of Native Americans while discussing such purveyors of stereotypes as the Puritans, the Bureau of Indian Affairs, and Hollywood. These stereotypes abetted a national policy robbing Indians of their cultural identity. A musical is a type of drama that features songs and dance numbers. I utilize the film The Greatest Showman, issue about discrimination theory by Herbert Butterfield. Discrimination, the intended or accomplished differential treatment of persons or social groups for reasons of certain generalized traits. The targets of discrimination are often minorities, but they may also be majorities, as black people were under apartheid in South Africa. An ever-growing number of terms have been coined to label forms of discrimination, such as racism, sexism, antisemitism, homophobia, transphobia, or cissexism, discrimination against transgender persons, classism, discrimination based on social class, lookism, discrimination based on physical appearance, and ableism, discrimination based on disability. That's all for me. If I have many mistakes, I do apologize. See you tomorrow. Thank you.